Hey there, my name's Max, and I am going to show today my first 15 records of my collection in autobiographical order. I took a cue from the shitty protagonist of High Fidelity, who also arranges his record collection autobiographically. I just thought it was a good idea. I don't love the movie, but some of this music will appear sequentially as to when it appeared in my life, not when I bought the record, and sometimes those two are the same thing. So, like for example, this one, the very beginning, if we may start, is the first song I ever heard in my life. After my parents took me home from the hospital, they played I Talk to the Wind from this album. They skipped Schizoid Man, but 21st Century Schizoid Man was not played for little old me. But I Talk to the Wind put me to sleep. And I remember asking my parents, what was the first song I ever listened to? And they told me it was this. The rest of the record is fantastic. UK classic progressive rock. Really great record. I should listen to it again. A lot of this is also so I can go through my records. I haven't gone through them in a while. I haven't had access to them in a while. So I sort of have almost forgotten. And I want to contextualize these within my own life as well. Probably, most people's also childhood music. The Beatles. This one, the best Beatles record in my opinion. Tied with Magical Mystery Tour. Controversially, hot take. But can you get a better gatefold? Can you get a better gatefold? I don't care if John Lennon killed someone. That's a bad joke, but I love this album to death. I don't know what to say. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. It changed. Too many people have said too much shit about it. Too much stuff about it. I can't add on to the conversation. Up next is a song that reminds me of Saturday mornings and my mom cleaning the house and my dad cooking crepes. Because this was always in Saturday morning specifically, always. Not expensive shit. This is Fela Kuti. Fantastic jazz sort of, I don't know what genre he actually falls into. But really my favorite part of this record is the B-side. This song, Water No Get Enemy, is one of my, top 20 songs of all time. Expensive. I shouldn't do I need to censor that, YouTube? Am I not going to get paid now? From all the people watching? Devendra Banhart, Cripple Crow. I love this album. I love Devendra Banhart. He is Venezuelan. I'm Venezuelan. There's a connection there. Sing in Spanish again, Devendra. You haven't made an album in Spanish in a really long time, and I'm getting angry. Your voice is different in English. Your cadence, your songwriting changes. Please go back to Spanish just for a little bit. I'm not saying you have to quit the English. I'm just saying, what happened to all these Quédate Luna? ¿Qué pasó con las baladas, las tonadas que tenías aquí, mi amor? Bueno, Devendra Banhart, Cripple Crow, freak folk, early 2000s, fantastic record. Cover art references, stylistically, the cover of Sgt. Pepper's, which we just saw. So, I do think this is like a psychedelic magnum opus of another kind, but Gogol, Bordello, Gypsy Punks, Underground World Strike. Oh my god, this band would get me so riled up as a kid. This is also childhood music. My parents played it for me in the car. On the way to soccer practice, I would get riotous with this. I would get really, really pumped. It's just good punk music, but it's got this gypsy rhythm that perfectly complements the natural pace of punk. It's like a fantastic blend of the two. The instrumentation is insane. I cannot say enough good things about it. I think the only caveat that might throw people off is that the main singer kind of sounds like Borat, if I'm being perfectly honest. But aside, if you can get past the Borat voice, oh my god. These guys also have another great record called Transatlantic Trap. I'm fake fanning right now, but they have a couple of great records that you should check out. Up next, we have 2 Chili Gonzales records from the trilogy. I don't have the third one, but Chili Gonzales Solo Piano 2. It's beautiful, minimalist, modern piano compositions. Kind of reminds me of Eric Satie and similar sort of turn-of-the-century composers. And I've played these to death because you can fall asleep so easily. It's so beautiful. It's a perfect combination of simple, but really delicate. It's structured kind of, I think all of his songs are structured like pop songs in that they have like verses and choruses. And I can't say that I like his rap career, but his piano stuff, I don't know how he's doing both of those. I don't know how that fits inside of his life, but these are the best sort of classically inclined songs that I would recommend to someone. They're fantastic. Undun by The Roots, one of my favorite rap albums. I don't really love the way it ends with that weird orchestral suite, but I can overlook that because the sampling and the beats on this thing, I mean, the rapping is fantastic, but Questlove is an amazing drummer. They're this perfect combination of prepared, I don't know, it's gentle, but I don't know, it's never overdone. I mean, it's perfectly produced, it's crisp as hell. The soul in this is just insane. And I mean, I don't know, one of my favorite rap albums, one of my favorite albums, period. Up next, we're getting into the soundtrack era. Blade Runner, Vangelis. I love this soundtrack. It complements the film so well, and I don't know. Really, my favorite song isn't a song that appears in the film prominently. It's a song that appears in the background of one of the scenes where Harrison Ford is talking to a street vendor, and it's One More Kiss Dear, last song on the A side. I think it's such a beautiful Ink Spots style song. I would be offended if I made that for a movie and they didn't, sort of give it more space to breathe. I would have loved to hear just the whole thing play out in a sequence or something. But yeah, I mean, it's great all around. The soaring synths, the weird ambience, and the way the soundtrack itself is conceived with bits of audio that float in and out is just delightful. I mean, as a listening experience, it's really round and really fulfilling. And now we start getting into the music that's not inherited by my parents. Blade Runner, my dad showed me. A lot of the other stuff my parents showed me. Flume and a lot of 2012, 2013 music, electronic music. That's really where I started to get into music for myself, as a human being that has taste and is going out into the world and picking things out to listen to. It was dubstep, vaporwave, and electronica that was coming out at the time. Flume, I mean, some of my favorite songs maybe ever are on here. I love Holding On, Stay Close, Sleepless. They're fantastic. I think it's funny that Flume has not gone back to this sound, and he's I mean, I like the way that he's experimenting now, but since he never made another record really in this style, and I don't think anyone ever has, it's this bubble of early 2010s, the quality, the round quality, the bass, and the samples as well, they're so soulful. I feel like just a coffee shop hipster with a mustache and a flannel every time I listen to it, but in the best way possible. I told you, soundtrack era. We have the French version of Once Upon a Time in the West by Ennio Morricone. I love this soundtrack. It makes me cry sometimes. The soaring operatic sequences that occur in the title track are like really moving sometimes, and especially I used to have like a Western phase. I used to be really into Westerns. This was my favorite Western, and some of the more emotional scenes in the movie I sort of am recalled, and I just find it very, very it's kind of funny because I'll just be like listening to opera like a bit of a grandpa on the sofa, and I'll just start tearing up because it's so beautiful. Up next, kind of a weird one, Macintosh Plus, Lisa Frank 420. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. This is the internet music that I fell in love with and that got me into music in the first place. This is a beautiful pink. I believe this is the first pressing. I'm really glad I was able to buy it and not pay retail, because this is such a seminal album for internet music, for contemporary music, for plunderphonics. I think it gets hated a little too much. I think the sampling on this is actually pretty well done, even though it's minimalistic. That's the style, and I think it's done well because the songs are really, really catchy and listenable. And I think he is making a sort of argument. I really love this era of the internet. I mean, and it's funny that I'm like nostalgic for it now, because it is already inherently all about nostalgia. So now we're like nostalgic for nostalgia, about nostalgia squared. And after that, we have Portishead's Dummy, maybe one of the best records of the 90s. Certainly my favorite trip-hop record, although Massive Attack's Protection I need to buy. I don't have that on vinyl, but that's also a really, really good record. Really reminds me of my mom as well, with the Mr. Ons and Strangers. She used to play them all the time as well. And it's got such ambiance. The like, you can almost feel like you're in London or somewhere in the UK and it's raining all day. It just has this amazing, really amazing quality, and her voice is super unique as well. It's like, it reminds me almost a little bit of Bjork sometimes, but not as overdone. But some of the like ways that she strains it or moves over the beats, it sort of reminds me of what maybe Bjork adjacent was doing at the time, which I don't think is a comparison I see too often, but I think they occupied maybe similar spaces, although maybe this is redundant. Maybe this is just like common knowledge. This album changed my life. Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly. I did not like rap. I mean, aside from Undun the Roots, which was my parents doing, and they played some 90s hip-hop, some Tribe Called Quest, but, not contemporary rap. It was always from the 90s. And so I didn't, when I started getting into vaporwave and dubstep and all that stuff in the early 2000s, I was getting into Mac DeMarco, 2014, 2013, and 2015 comes around and this record comes out. And my buddy in school goes, dude, you have to listen to this. It's the best album I've ever heard. And I didn't like it on the first listen. It took me sitting in a chair with headphones 5 times all the way through in silence, doing nothing else, to really process. And I also saw the Anthony Fantano video, which is in and of itself kind of a iconic internet video. I think it's like one of the ones that really, really blew up, kind of like maybe along with his Dark Twisted Fantasy video. But yeah, I just think, oh my god, there's so much that's already been said about this record that I'm kind of embarrassed to even talk about it. But it made me go into a rap phase that lasted years, and I pretty much only listened to rap music after this. And I don't even, I'm speechless. I'm fumbling over my words here, because Kendrick Lamar, I mean, I don't think he's ever reached this peak, and I don't know how you could, but, wow. I don't know, there's aspects of it that I hesitate on, because, like the Tupac inclusion I find strange. And the moaning at the start of these walls. There's like certain choices that Kendrick Lamar makes that I think are a little bit indulgent and pretentious. But, you know, I mean, he's Kendrick Lamar. He's great, and I really shouldn't shit on To Pimp a Butterfly, but it's hard, you know, not people don't say bad things about it, so I guess someone has to. But for me, it really is that production. It's so deliciously intricate. And I mentioned the headphones specifically because I feel like this is such an album you really want to sit down and pay attention to. And I find it difficult to even play out loud because some of the songs are, you know, you listen to You out loud and it sounds like it shouldn't be so, this pain should not be out loud, you know, it should be sort of personal. I don't know if that makes any sense. But when I hear songs like You and I would play out loud, but You, I don't know if I would. And These Walls also feels very intimate. So I feel like that's very much like a personal rap album, and one that, again, I would credit with changing my life. Birth of a New Day. Birth of a New Day. 2814. Another Vaporwave album, actually. And I think those are the only two Vaporwave albums I have in my collection, because it's not like they make Vaporwave records every other day. I'm really happy to have this. It's pretty much just ambient music, and I do have to acknowledge that Vaporwave has this Orientalist quality to it, where it's really just plunderphonics or ambient music with an aesthetic slapped on top of it, and that aesthetic is always Asian, it's always a generic sort of Oriental vibe. Nonetheless, I listened to a lot of Vaporwave on Bandcamp in my early days, and this is a first pressing, I believe. I love falling asleep to this record. It's really calming. I think, to be quite frank with you, if you heard it intently, you might get bored. I think, you know, the drones at some points could become a little more varied, but it is ambient music to that end, and I think it is really evocative of the cover art and of the vibe. And I mean, this is a seminal record within the Vaporwave scene. Ask anyone. 2814, the Dream Catalog. Does anyone remember the Dream Catalog? I've got so many Dream Catalog releases that I love. And yeah, I think that's the last one. That's number 15. It's really, really nice to hold this, because I know that Vaporwave records they're special. It's ephemeral music, you know, it's internet music. This stuff doesn't always get put to print, and I'm really happy that in some cases it does, because I feel like we've already lost a lot of internet music to the ether, and in this way, we make sure that it'll stick around. So, thank you for watching. I hope this was fun. I'm going to do another part where I do the next 15 records and so on until I finish my collection. And yeah, basically, first 15 records, organized autobiographically. Bye. Bye.